Okay, everybody, we should be back. Thank you for being patient with us while we do the overseas thing that we seem to have been doing. So this, I think, is going to be a lot better. We can hear Robert in real time, and he can hear us, so we shouldn't have that delay. We're having a bit of issue with Greg's video, but we can hear everybody. So, Robert, you probably didn't even hear it, or you were hearing it 20 seconds late. Thank you so much for taking time out of your morning there, 10 a.m. in Australia, to be with us. We really appreciate it.
Right. Yeah, I can hear you fine now.
Okay, good. And there's just a slight delay. So I know I asked you and you answered, but because we can hear you a lot better now, when people ask about what astral projection is, astral travel, there is no difference in that? It's all the same thing, just different verbiage?
Yeah, astral travel, astral projection, OBE, out-of-body experience, and some people even call it soul travel or etheric travel. There's various terms, but they're all talking about the same thing. Although I think some people get a bit confused about that, and they say, no, it's different. But, you know, I've been there a lot, and it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. Okay, and are people, and Greg, can you hear me? Because since I can't see you, I'm not able to see if you're starting to talk, so I don't want to cut you off.
I can hear both of you. Can you both hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, we're good. Good.
There's a little box you have to click, I think, to allow video. It might be underneath a window on your screen or something.
Yeah, I know I clicked to allow video for both of you, but he just seems to be loading away. But that's all right. We can hear him. He's not even.
At least you can hear me, so that's what really counts.
And you can see me great.
Yes, and that's the most important one. That's the most important one. So let's do this, Robert, for our listeners who are kind of new coming into this. What would you give as a basic definition for what astral projection is?
Well, before my work came along in the mid-90s, it was universally believed that when you had any kind of astral projection, when you left your body, in your astral body, your physical body mind was left empty, an empty shell, an empty husk, if you can imagine. And that was, as my work proved, a big assumption, because, I mean, how can you be in two places at the same time?
Right.
That seems logical. But what really happens is counterintuitive. What really happens is during any kind of astral projection, you generate an energy copy of yourself, and it is this energy copy that is projected out of body.
Okay.
So, in truth, you never actually leave your physical body mind. The master copy with all your memories, your spirit, your soul, whatever you want to call it, you, is left in your physical body. And because of that, and this, what I call the mind split effect, explains it a lot, if not most, of the weird anomalies that occur during astral projection. For example, paralysis, being paralyzed in bed, unable to move. You know, you're awake and you're thinking, but you can't, just suddenly paralyzed. You can't move a muscle, you can't even blink.
Right.
And you might be able to see the room around you, even though in the physical body you're actually facing the wall or under the covers. And then your evil doppelganger goes by. Someone looks exactly like you and you think, oh God, no, my evil doppelganger's here. It's like, you know, and people get frightened because they don't understand this phenomena. But what you've got there, when you have an astral projection, your physical body is usually paralyzed because most of your vitality energy, you could say mental energy, goes with the astral projected double, which is fully active and thinking and acting and existing in the astral, and it may be in the room around you in the real time zone, which means in reality as it happens. And you're paralyzed, still awake, and still experiencing consciousness at the same time, and you'll often gain astral sight and hearing when you're in that paralyzed state, so you can see into the astral around you and hear from the astral as well. You'll hear voices, you'll hear noises, and things around you in that state. So there's a lot of fear material here if you don't understand what's happening. But once you understand the mechanics of the process there, a lot of the fear goes away, because nothing could really harm you. You're invulnerable, because if through some means that I've never encountered before, your astral double could somehow vanish or be destroyed or slip into a black hole or something, you would still be here. You would wake up the next morning just the same, maybe with a bit of headache. Unproven though.
Well, where is this astral plane?
Okay, what are you trying to do?
Greg, Lawanda's right in the mic.
What about now? She's done coughing, my mistake.
It's really loud. Is this another, when you're talking about being on a different plane, is it possible that your energy double, your imprint that's out interacting in another place can be seen and it can be reported back to you, or that you could possibly bring back something from that plane?
Yeah, you've got your video, Michelle. I can see you now.
Good, hi.
Yes, you can. The difficulty there, when you're out of body, there's two levels. The first level you'll get is the real-time zone, which is like being a ghost in the physical world, as reality happens in the real world. I made up that term myself, the real-time zone, because there wasn't one to cover it. Some people call it the etheric plane or etheric projection. It's an aspect of astral projection.
Yeah.
But I like descriptive terms. So I coined that. Now, once you leave the real-time zone, you shift into the astral planes. And the astral planes are laid out like pages in a book. If you approach them in a certain, you could say with a certain angle of perception, you can see the different planes like that. But most people will just shift into an astral realm and they'll be there. And yes, if you have another person, another projector there, can see you there and you can interact. For example, if you belong to an occult order, a serious occult order, all the meetings are held in the astral plane. They create a prepared astral realm, a small one, might be as big as your house, and which is created and protected, and everybody projects there. They got a special salvation, a password, and a visualization password to get in there. And all the meetings are held there. So if you can't astral project, you can't belong to a serious occult order. It's kind of universal.
I've never heard that before. That's new to me.
Yeah.
So would you say that they do that as a way of reaching, I guess that is that certain initiative state that, hey, once you are able to astral project, we know that you have arrived. We know that you have been able to quiet your mind enough to where we can teach you other things, other higher than what you have learned so far.
Yes, and this particularly applies to hermetic groups. But other groups do the same sort of thing, having their meetings in the astral. But as part of the training you go through when you're in an occult order is, learning how to astral project is a big part of that. Also controlling your mind, raising energy and things like that. It's and of course ritual. But so if you're in the real-time zone particularly, you can actually meet up with somebody. It's trickier in the astral dimension, but you can meet up and travel together and both remember it and have fun together. But I've only ever come across a couple of people that have been able to do that don't belong to occult orders. So it's a quite a respectable level of ability required to do that, or you've got to be a natural projector. Because most people, even though you'll do it in the astral, if a person's asleep, you can summon their astral body to you just by calling them, and they'll usually turn up, and but they'll think they're awake and they'll be a bit confused with what's going on, But And then you can, wake them up and that and, do things with them or travel with them. But it's pretty unlikely they're going to remember any of it the next day. Sometimes they remember a little bit. They remember they dreamed about you or something. But, it is possible, and it needs further work. Let's say you need to have somebody that, can project. And keep in mind that one of the difficulties with astral projection itself is child's play to do. Anybody can do it after 5 minutes instruction, just reading about some of the basics and the basic astral projection techniques. The difficulty with astral projection is remembering it. Because of the mind spoon effect, the importance of that, and my work focuses on this, including the mind spoon effect and working with it and getting that to work. Because if you get out of body and you can have an all-night astral projection, but if you don't remember it, it never happened. Right. So you'll feel this, it did happen. Because what normally happens is when you get out of body, now to get into the state required for the astral body to project out, your physical body mind needs to be in the process of falling asleep. Or it needs to be in a trance state, altered state of consciousness called the mind awake, body asleep state.
Right.
Which means your physical body's been put to sleep, but your mind stays awake. So, your physical body mind needs to be falling asleep in order to produce the astral projected double. Now, the reverse applies. In order to reintegrate with your physical body mind, the physical body mind needs to be in the process of rousing, of waking up.
Okay.
What happens after you have an astral projection? You'll feel paralyzed and very, very tired. You'll feel like really, really heavy and tired because most of your vitality and energy, or a big part of it, has just shifted out with your astral body. And usually within a couple of minutes, you will think, just roll over and go to sleep. Even though you don't physically move, you actually roll over inside your body, in your second body, they call it. And you will go to sleep very, very quickly. And within a couple of minutes, you will nosedive into stage 2 sleep and beyond. Once you get into stage 2 sleep, your astral body can't get back in. Now, when your astral body tries to get back in deliberately, it causes a tingling sensation, which will sort of run through the body. It's a gentle tingling sensation. Now, that is not enough to wake you up if you've fallen into a deep sleep. I mean, how do you sleep with somebody snoring next to you, or there's noise around you and things like that? I mean, sometimes when you're really tired, it's really difficult to wake up even with an alarm clock. So, within a couple of minutes, you nosedive into deep sleep, and the astral body is locked out. Mm-hmm. Now, if it tries to reintegrate, tries to get back in again, it will land on top of your physical body, and it can't get back in again. Let me in! And this usually terrifies the person, the projector, because their physical body will feel cold, damp, and dead. Because that's just how a physical body feels to the astral double.
Okay.
It's like you have ever experienced ectoplasm, which is produced by a special type of medium. It's like a cloud of like jelly sort of substance comes out of a person. It's a spirit material. But if you touch an object or a person that's composed out of that, if you touch them, they feel cold and damp. That's just how ectoplasm feels.
So it wouldn't be just you, that would be anyone that would be in the physical realm. If you were to touch them, they would feel that they were cold and damp.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just how living people feel to the astral body.
Okay.
So I've had people totally traumatized by that experience by trying to get back in because they've been out of body for a few minutes and then they've got a bit scared by something and they've tried to get back in because they're a bit scared. But they can't get back in. So literally laying on top of their body, begging and crying and pounding and trying to pull themselves back in. And first time I come across this, 15 years or so ago, the guy hadn't slept for about a month. He'd been living on coffee and stuff like that because he's too scared to sleep.
Right.
And it's hilarious. But particularly in that case there, because he projected out, he'd had several projections before, and he was in an apartment on about, several floors up. And a part of that, he looked out the window. It was like early hours of the morning, about 5 or 6 a.m., and he saw a hearse pull up, and two undertakers get out and carry this coffin-like thing into the house. And he started to get a bit scared. So he tried to get back into his body, and he couldn't get back in. Put two and two together and come up with 7. I'm dead! The undertakers are coming for me. The evil undertaker. And this guy was totally traumatised. Now, what had happened, the old lady downstairs had died during the night, and they called the undertaker. He just looked outside at the wrong time, saw the undertaker arriving in the hearse, and put, as say, 2 and 2 together and come up with 7.
Right.
And but when you experience this and understand it, and the only way to do this, I have had literally thousands and thousands of astral projections, real-time ones, astral projections, all different levels. Mm-hmm. And it's only when you explore this, you start to understand the basic mechanics of the process. And I studied that by observing myself intensely as I'm coming out of my body and as I'm going back in at all different stages. What's happening to my body? What's happening to my chakras? And getting some repeatable stuff. And when I understand that, then testing it out on other people and asking them the right questions. And then when you start to understand what's happening here, the mechanics of the process, all these anomalies and weird things about astral projection all start to click in. It's all quite normal. It all fits within the framework.
Well, let me ask you this. I know a lot of people, including myself, have been very interested in trying it and trying to figure out and reading and, getting a lot of different input on and advice on how to do it. And because we don't really know what to expect, we're not sure if we're headed in that direction, and maybe we get fearful and, like you said, kind of maybe even stop before we get there. And one of the questions in the chat room is somebody asking, is the sensation of your body spinning in multiple directions a sign or a stage of that you're getting ready to project?
Yes, that's one of the symptoms. You can get a swaying motion inside of you, or a spinning motion, or motion. An feeling of inner motion is one of the symptoms. When you start the actual projection, now, keep in mind here, the symptoms vary from person to person depending upon which, you could say, which chakra you're exiting through. Most people, 90% will come out from like the heart center area, you could say. Okay. And they'll experience a very, very rapid heartbeat. It feels like your heart is beating, and it feels like your physical heart is beating at 500 beats a minute. Racing, and really pounding in your chest. And you feel it really localized, it's quite a physical sensation. But tests have shown that your physical heart doesn't raise a beat. It's steady and slow, just as normal. But your heart chakra does this pumping action. It's like it's pumping energy out to form your astral body. Another symptom of that type of exit is whole body vibration, where you're buzzing from head to foot. And that can be very, very strong, or it can be gentle, depending on where you're at. And a continual falling sensation is another aspect of that. And that relates to falling asleep. Have you ever wondered why they call it falling asleep? It's because as you fall asleep, if you hold your hands up off the bed with your elbows resting on the bed, as you're falling asleep, you'll experience the falling asleep stage and a trance state a bit longer, because when you start to fall asleep, your hands will drop, and give yourself back a few times, and you'll notice there's a distinct falling sensation as you nod off to sleep, just for about half a second, and then you're out of it. But the vibrations, rapid heartbeat, and continual falling sensation are the most common. Also inner motion. Now, if you project from the brow or crown center, you are likely to either just slip out of body with no sensations, or you might get a bit of light vibration and then you're out. Or you may exit through the brow center, you'll feel a sensation of a great acceleration. Imagine if you're in like a racing car that's going really, accelerating really fast, and like it's been in a jet, you feel like you push back and you go very, very fast, and next minute you'll find yourself diving down a tube-like structure, like a big water slide, big water tube, and you're going in all directions, and there's grid lines, coloured grid lines often, and patterns and colours on the inside, until you are deposited somewhere in the astral planes. So there's a fair bit to take in here, the different types of projection. Now, real-time projection, as opposed to that, you'll visually feel yourself floating up out of body and usually coming to rest in a standing position at your feet, or you may end up near the ceiling somewhere. But normally you're standing at the feet of your bed, and then you are like a ghost in the real world, and you can move around and see reality as it really happens.
Let me ask you this question, because from your point of view, you say that everyone should be able to astral project, everyone should be able to leave their body, but not everyone is able to do so. I have to ask a question then, what are the basics that one must do in order to be successful in leaving the body?
Well, just first, before I answer that question, everybody astral projects whenever they sleep. When my astral travels, and I've done it, I spent a huge amount of time in the astral and the real time zone as well. If I visit people who are asleep in their beds, I will often find their real-time astral body floating a couple of feet above their physical body. So I call it sleep projection. Now, most people, when they project, they slip out of body, and the astral body's floating just above it with a connecting cord seen coming from the navel usually. They call it a silver cord. You won't always see it, you'll only occasionally see that cord. Now, I have seen animals project. Dogs and cats definitely project. Hamsters project. Birds project. That's about all I've seen so far. Now, I meditate for at least a couple of hours a day, sometimes a lot more. And when I meditate, I gain astral sight, which means I can see into the astral around me in the real time zone. And I've often got my dog or my cat or my hamster or my bird. Recently, I've got a baby magpie I'm raising. He sleeps in my bedroom, so I've been watching him come out of body in the bedroom, you know. And but it looks like, from those examples there, and I see them come out, like I'll see my dog, I'll see this pale shape come up out of their body of the dog who's lying asleep in front of me, and then start moving around the room, and next minute the cat projects out, and then my kids come in, and it's got, you know, I think every living thing projects whenever they sleep. I don't know about the vegetable kingdom or beyond that, but animals certainly do. And animals are certainly conscious. They're not dumb animals. They have a spirit of consciousness. They're sentient beings. Even a hamster.
You mentioned that we all project in our dreams. So is that the same as saying we're having an out-of-body experience? It's the same as saying we're having a lucid dream?
Well, the basic formulation for the mind split effect is your physical body mind can be awake on the bed after the astral projection has occurred. The astral body is awake and experiencing existence independently. Your dream mind can become active separately at the same time. So there are now 3 copies of you existing simultaneously. When I first worked this out, it used to give me blinding headaches. But this is demonstrable because you can shift between these states during a single experience. You can shift into the dream state and see what's going on there, into the astral body and back into the physical body. And because you have some communication on the emotional level only between these states, but you'll often randomly shift into another state here while you've got the same experience going on. Now, I think dreaming and lucid dreaming occurs in the mental dimension. It's actually a mental projection because that fits in with the model I've been developing over these years. But yeah, astral projection is difficult. Now, to answer your question of how to get out of body, you need to put yourself in a deeply relaxed, physically and mentally relaxed state.
Okay.
And you need to relax your mind so you don't have any thought words. Thought words throw a big spanner, a big wrench into the mechanism of a very natural mechanism. Now, if you are thinking in thought words, everything sort of stutters and there's problems there. And those exit symptoms I'll talk about, the vibrations and the rapid heartbeat, the falling sensation, if you're thinking thought words during an exit out of the body that's trying to happen, those sensations will escalate to major life. You will feel like they're life-threatening. You will get this massive whole-body vibration like you are strapped to an industrial concrete vibrator. You know, the falling sensation will be pronounced and nauseating. Your heart will be, you'll think you are dying. You're having a heart attack. You know, you're dying. This is a death process. If you don't know about it, this will happen to about probably 5 to 10% of people when they have their first couple of deliberate conscious astral projections. So it's really good to be prepared for that. And you just got to have a bit of faith and relax. And try and get out of the body, because as soon as you get out, they stop instantly. So that's a good way of separating it. Fighting it and trying to stop it from happening will usually stall it and enhance the symptoms to very uncomfortable levels. Now, most people don't get those really heavy levels of it, but if you get it, just remember my words and trust me, it won't hurt you. You know, these are all energy sensations.
It's kind of like trying to relax while riding on a roller coaster.
Yeah, a little bit like that, yeah. At the time, if you do that now, you're causing this by trying to stop it. You're tensing up your physical body. I don't want to happen, but you just induce this power, so you've got to go through it. And that's the quickest way to keep it smooth. And if you don't want to do it when you get out, you can dive straight back in again. But then you've got the memory of a conscious exit out of the body and a re-entry. That's life-changing in itself. Now, so you need to relax, and the best position to do this in is a reclining position, not lying flat on the bed or in a sleep position. To do it in a spare room, we are psychologically programmed to start falling asleep as soon as we get into our bedroom and our own comfy bed. So sleep upside down, do it on the couch, do it in a spare room. In fact, most people have their first OBEs sleeping in a hotel or something, or in a strange bed, because you know you don't rest comfortably in a strange bed for a while.
Right.
And so you want to be at about a 40-degree angle, 45-degree angle in bed, or in a reclining chair is good. So prop yourself up in bed with a lot of pillows as if you're about to have breakfast in bed. That's a pretty good position. And get yourself comfortable. And that helps keep you conscious, because you need to stay conscious, and otherwise in the deep relaxation stage of it, you'll just fall asleep. And it's just like a hair's breadth between staying awake and you'll fall asleep, you're gone. So sitting up helps you to stay. And learning how to achieve the deeply relaxed, altered state of consciousness, you're actually better off using a hardback chair with no head support. Learn how to achieve that state, and if you start to zonk out, then your head will rock forward and pull you back. And there's a balancing act. It takes practice to hold that state. And when you get that state, you'll find you'll feel this heaviness come over you, and you'll feel sort of fuzzy and heavy, and then you'll know you're in the right state, the mind awake, body asleep state. But prop yourself up in bed, bunch of pillows, just relax, and the easy way to do that is just focus your awareness, your body awareness, on your breathing. So focus on your abdomen and just feel the muscles, the flesh moving as you breathe. Just feel it rising and falling. That is enough attention to keep your mind occupied, because your mind isn't used to not thinking. We're addicted to thinking, and so we're thinking all the time. We've got this little reminder pad going on, little messaging system there, and it reminds of things constantly, and random thoughts drop in with association.
Right.
Now, that's normal for the real world, but when, of course, those thoughts will get in the way, and it makes it hard to go to sleep, and or to achieve an altered state. So you need to focus on something to keep that part of your mind busy. Otherwise, a pressure will build up in you, and it'll just have to think. It'll try and force you to think different aspects of you. So focus on your belly breathing and just relax. And focus on your breathing, nothing else. And when you get into the heavy state, you'll feel this heavy wave come over you, and your body will feel heavy and fuzzy and a bit far away. That's the first stage. Once you've achieved that, you need to use an astral projection technique. And a simple one to use is to imagine and feel you're climbing a rope that's hanging down from the ceiling above you, big strong rope, or a ladder. Imagine and feel you're climbing that. Now, this exteriorizes your body awareness in your arms, because you don't physically move, your astral arms are doing this.
Right.
And when you exteriorize a part of your body, that causes the astral projection reflex to kick in. It's sort of tricking it into doing the astral projection when you want it to happen. You can also feel yourself rolling out of bed or rolling over in bed as well. That's another good one. And you use a variety of techniques. Try climbing the rope for like 15, 20 seconds, then feel yourself rolling over, and then try a ladder, and then try imagining and feeling that you're getting up out of bed and walking across the room. Try and immerse yourself in it. And you are then, your body awareness, you are believing that you are already out of body. Imagining yourself moving towards the door, the walls moving around you and the furnishings as you move, and get your perspective over there. When you get your perspective out of your body, that again quite powerfully triggers the astral projection reflex, as your astral body will try to come up with where your perspective is. It'll kind of catch up with you. And when it starts to kick in, you'll normally just buzz gently out of your body with a little bit of racing heartbeat and a feeling sensation. Mm-hmm. And the most important thing, that's the technique, but the most important thing here, working with the mind spread, what's going to happen if you go off and explore some, going to Mount Everest and Paris and see all these wonderful things and fly to the moon, all those things are possible, but your body's going to dive into stage 2, stage 3 sleep fairly quickly after you leave, and you don't know when it's going to happen. So I recommend people to aim to stay out of body the first couple of times, 10 seconds. Get out of your body. You don't have a watch there, you just got to guess it. Get out of body, move across your room, turn around. You find it's difficult to move, you don't have legs. Turn around, look at your hands, and you'll find they'll melt.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of that. Okay.
Like white ice under a blowtorch, down to little stumps. It's one of the few constant factors of real-time astral travel. And just watch that, it's amazing. And then turn around and dive back into your body, passionately, savagely shouting your success to form a strong memory, which will overwrite any memories your physical body mind might be having there. It's paralyzed, it's thinking what's happening, not much going on there. Nothing interesting. But you've got to get a powerful memory. Otherwise, you could dive back in there again, and if you're mid-thought and you go, wow, this is cool, because this tingling sensation going back in is very pleasurable, and you stop thinking, and you get back in the body, and then you wake up. Well, you won't know where you went. You don't remember any of it.
That's what I was about to ask you. In your description of that, it makes it sound that we've actually projected several times and may not be aware of it when we enter our physical bodies again.
Thousands of times. Even if you succeed. Now, I'll just finish this process off here. When you dive back into your body, you shout your keywords, just 3 or 4 words, a couple of words, to form an association with the experience. You might say, for example, my hands melted, or I did it, something, and dive back into your body, passionately, savagely shouting that, and dive back in. And when you dive back in, you'll feel, as your head approaches like your torso, you'll find your tingle will start to dissolve, and you'll feel this tingling, dissolving sensation, and then your perspective will shift back to your head, and bang, you're back in and you're awake, and you've got the memory. Now, you can't trust it. Immediately verbalize it. Say the words of your keywords aloud, and say, my hands melted, while you're reaching for the pen and pad that's next to you. And write down a couple of key words. My hands melted, could their legs. And then you've got the key words down. You've got an association with where that memory exists, so you can call it back.
Gotcha.
And then
Okay.
Then write down the full experience. Because what happens, how many times have you woken up in the morning after a brilliant dream, and you say, wow, that was such a cool dream. I'll never forget that. And you say, oh, that was so cool. Oh, and it comes back. Ah, I've got it. And it's gone again. It's like a little cloud of memory is there when you wake up. And after a couple of seconds, it just drifts away and it's gone. And then you search for it. You put your mind on search, try to remember it, and it comes back. And then it goes again. You can't trust the little buggers. It just drift off. These are not like normal memories. These are subtle memories, and they behave quite differently to a normal memory. Dream memories do a similar thing, but they're stronger than astral projection memories. They're more easy to recall. Astral projection memories are much more tricky to recall. So once you've got a couple of words down, you can pull that experience back. Now, I've been doing this since the age of 4, over many, many, many years. I started when I was about 4 years old, and just spontaneously coming out of my body. But even now, you wouldn't believe how many times I'll get up in the morning and I'll see a note on my computer or on the kitchen counter. I say, what's this? And there's this really bad writing. I go, well, what's this? What? I got this bad writing. I go, what's this? And then I'll make out a couple of words on there, and bang, the memory's back. I say, oh, wow, yeah, okay. Then I write down the full experience. Because I was like bouncing off the walls and left myself a bit of a note, what happened, a couple of key words, and just went back to bed. And so if you can see here, everybody has these same sort of problems. So if you work with the mind split and try and work around, there's ways to work around it and with it, it greatly enhances your chances of remembering the experience. So that's the key process. Achieving all this a deeply relaxed state, and if you avoid words like clearing the mind, emptying the mind and that, and things like meditation, you won't upset any religious people that they've got baggage those words. Say, I've just achieved a deeply relaxed physical mental state. And they say, oh, okay, that sounds cool. I've just seen a state. Or meditating, whatever, I cleared my mind. And then in like a 45-degree angle or sitting up, you use an astral projection exit technique. And when you come out of body, stay out of body 10, 20 seconds. You have to guess that part, and then don't be tempted to go further afield. Just remember my words. Robert said, get straight back in the body. The most important thing for you is to experience a fully conscious exit out of body. This is a big tamale. And then to come back in deliberately. No break in consciousness. You haven't drifted off, fall asleep. Back in your body, and then you've written it down and you've got that experience, personal experience. And some of these things you have to learn by personal experience. We are all born with full psychic abilities, but they are shielded off by default to keep us grounded here in the physical world. But through personal experience, you can extend on those sort of things, drop some of that shielding away, using affirmations as well, but you've got to demonstrate it by doing it. And then your higher self, the great I am within you, says, oh, you've got personal experience with that now, that's now included in your abilities. So, and this works very, very well. So follow that process, work with the mind split effect, and it's achievable. Just what I've told you now is enough to know. But my books, the Mastering Astral Projection 90-day guide, I've co-authored with a gentleman called Brian Mercer. And that's a 90-day step-by-step program you can get from the book. It's got a CD-ROM with some altered state inducing sound on it too. That's a good one to get. There's a CD album, 6 CDs, which is an audio-guided. It's a completely separate product from the book. It teaches you energy work, how to achieve an altered state, how to do the exit techniques, and it puts it all together on the last 2 discs with they're used for exit work. You play the disc, it induces a relaxed state in you, and then it talks you through it. Okay. And if you want to learn all about it, my latest book, Astral Dynamics, was released about 12 months ago, and that has everything in it, and that's my first baby. It's a beautiful book. I I think we're still giving away the first edition of that book on my site, astralbook.com, where if you sign up, you can download it. I think we do. If not, ask Timothy for it. We're about to shift that site content, my commercial premium site, over to my main domain, astraldynamics.com. There'll be a forward there if you go there, which is a brand new site with a lot of new stuff on there. My community site is astraldynamics.com.au. That's where my forums and all the free stuff is. So, astral projection is very easy to achieve. Any child can do it. But remember it, that's the hard part, and that's the part that most people don't get, because it's counterintuitive. Unless you understand mechanisms involved, and now I've explained it to you, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? It's very logical. And you can see yourself, well, I can do that. You've probably come close to having, or you've experienced spontaneous astral projection, or you've awakened up paralyzed in that. And when you are paralyzed in your body, an astral projection is in progress. Your astral body is out doing stuff. It might be in the room around you. And if you feel a strong feeling of fear in your paralyzed body, for no reason you'll feel fear coming from a particular direction. It's a sense of dread, very intense. And you'll feel like the devil himself is standing behind you with a raised axe. And it's like that sort of creepy feeling. It's about to get me, you know? And what's happening, you've got feedback going between your astral double, which is out of body, and your paralyzed physical body-mind. Now, your paralyzed body may discover it's paralyzed, and all of a sudden start being scared. I'm paralyzed, I can't move, I'm scared. Right. That emotion translates through the silver cord to the astral body, is out there in the garden looking at the flowers and the moonlight, and all of a sudden it feels a feeling of fear coming from behind it, from its physical body-mind. And it doesn't know what's happening, so it gets scared. That projects back to the physical body, gets even more scared, and it compounds between them until you get mind-numbing terror. And eventually the physical body might always wins and pulls you back in again, and you'll normally only remember the physical side of it. You were paralyzed and you woke up. Sometimes you won't remember anything. More rarely you'll remember both sides. And your dream mind could also be involved in that as well, be having a nightmare about the boogeyman about to get it, or a tiger's going to jump on your back or something. Right. So this can also happen from the astral side. You can control that side. The astral body's out, feeling a bit of trepidation, going around the astral, and then a bush moves in the wind in its peripheral vision. And it looks around thinking, oh, that's not a scary monster, but before it can even verbalize or say in its mind what that is, this bush becomes a monster and goes, boo. And you just created it. And so it starts feeling fear, oh, this is scary. Next minute, your physical body, it may have even been asleep, wakes up, paralyzed, feeling a sensation of dread and fear. And then it's down again. Yeah. So it can happen in both ways and complex. But when you understand what's happening, it's much less likely to happen. And also know you're being dragged back towards your body. It's like, just go with it. Have a strong memory, Allow it to happen and shout some key words and you're being sucked back in again. And bang, you wake up with that memory of that OBE experience. So understanding this process makes it much more doable. Otherwise, astral projection is very easy to do. Children do it. Babies do it. Dogs and cats do it. It's really easy to do. Remembering it, that's 99.9% of the difficulty.
Robert, let me ask you this. You've had so many experiences doing this. How do you feel that your physical life has benefited as a result? Because in talking to some people, they say, well, that sounds like a neat thing to do as a hobby, but I don't see the point. How has your life changed and evolved as a result of doing this?
Well, when you understand and you experience astral projection a number of times, you lose your fear of death. And the impact of death when loved ones die, or friends die, or even you're facing your own death, it changes your perception of the whole death thing. Because when you have an astral projection, that's exactly what's going to happen to you when you die. Exactly. Near-death experiences, for example, is an astral projection, a very powerful astral projection. Because when you physically die, you remember when you have an astral projection, a part of your vitality and consciousness comes across with you. Sometimes not much, sometimes your memory is really vague in your astral body, you can't remember things very well. But when you physically die, a hell of a lot of vitality energy comes across in the projection out of body. And you're evicted out of body here, and you have an incredibly vivid experience, which is much more powerful than a normal astral projection. And that accounts for its clarity. And the whole dying process and that usually triggers these different programs in the collective consciousness. You might see a tunnel of light, you might see this, you might see relatives and that. And they're usually real, you know, but this whole death process is triggered. And then you're back in your body again, and as it was a very powerful experience, you had a strong memory of that, so you usually remember it. Not all people who have near-death experiences remember anything. Only a few of them do. Those are the ones that happen to have a strong memory going on when they're recalled, and if they're conscious enough, you know, when they wake up maybe the next day or hours later, they can remember it. It's sort of hit and miss there. But you've got more chance of remembering near-death experience than OBE in that sense, because the memories are so powerful. Mostly with astral projection, you think about it, you're out of body and you're wandering through your house and you go out in your garden, it's sort of wow, your mind's really clear, it's like you're stoned and you're sort of wandering around and you're not really thinking, you don't really have any strong impressions here. And then you call back in mid-thought and there's nothing really going on to make an impression in your physical body mind here. So in changing my life, opened me up to the greater reality in a very big way. I mean, you understand that spirits are real, angels are real. I've encountered angels in the astral and in the physical as well when I've been awake. And you know, you start to understand they exist, and you get a sense of the structure of reality and how this works. And it becomes much, much less intimidating when you understand these things through personal experience. You can read all you like in books and that, but that won't really change your core belief system. Through personal experience, there's nothing like it. And yeah, it changes you. But physically affecting me, I wouldn't say it physically affects me. It just changes your beliefs a lot and your perceptions of life. Yeah, that changes a lot for the better.
So I got to ask this quick question, Michelle. So you mentioned that you've seen angels, you've seen other beings on, you know, other astral realms. Have you held conversation with higher beings in order to, I would say, to gain knowledge, to further your understanding of what's beyond what we understand?
Yeah. Yeah, but you could call them conversations with masters and occasionally angels, but it's not like a normal conversation. It's more like instruction. You sit there and it's like that, you know, it's like being a teacher arrives there. Don't interrupt me. They know what you need, they know what you want, and they'll give you instruction on that, and then it's over. They won't sit around and chit chat. I mean, a normal spirit, a person, another astral projector, yeah, sure, they'll sit around. But masters and angels, and that, particularly angels, they won't chit-chat and dilly-dally around. They will show you, often they will demonstrate something symbolically. They'll show you symbols, metaphors, and things. And if they do speak, it's usually very, very short and very to the point. And you can tell it's from a higher being because it's always quotable. So it has that ring to it. But yeah, you can communicate with them and other spirits and beings that live in the astral realms. You can talk to them and converse with some of them. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, you'll find masters and that will pop up in your astral travels and when you're in astral realms and even in your dreams. And you're always being observed. Every dream you have, apart from the processing aspect of a dream where you process your experiences, there's also tests in there. When you become lucid in a dream, you take control of it, or if you have an astral projection in astral realms, I mean, that is as real life. And you will find if you're not used to that, you sort of, hey, and you run amok. And it's like, because you know you're dreaming and this is reality, that you're in charge of this, creating this reality, you can make things and do anything you like.
Right.
And, but you're being observed, always being observed. So it's really advisable to be on good behaviour. It's okay to have a bit of fun when you get used to it. But I mean, like you get a lot of young teenagers out there, and you know, I deal with a lot of people. They ask the people I consult with all the time, and you get teenagers out there. There's all the babes, you know, and it's like you get thousands of hormonally challenged teenagers rampaging around, and it's like you are being observed and tested. There's a lot of tests and initiations involved, and they're testing you for maturity, common sense, and self-control. And you're being observed. Now, you could be in a scenario where there's a party going on, and you think these are mainly created beings. They're like dream characters, you know, very two-dimensional. And there's over there's an old alley cat sitting there, and he's the only conscious being there. And that alley cat is a master. And so once you understand these things, you walk up to the master and you say, hello. And then the cat smiles and may transform and may give you some advice or encouragement in that situation. Yeah. So another thing to know about for dreams and astral projections when you're in realms is is never to pick anything up or take anything. Even though it's like not physical, you can't really take it. But if you're going through an orchard, if you reach up and pick a piece of fruit, that's a no-no.
What's that?
If you're conscious, that's a no-no. Or if you see some jewelry on the ground, you can't pick it up and put it in your pocket. That's a no-no. That's like, there's an ethical thing going on here. And you usually find in a lucid dream, if you take a piece of fruit or something like that, next minute you've got somebody going, hey, that's mine, you know, you get told off for it. But there's lots of tests built into reality like this. And when you are conscious and you start to understand, and normally you'd understand this through experience, you would get the message eventually, and then you'd leave things alone. Conscious, you're demonstrating control, that you're thinking, that you're mature, and as you start to do that, you pass another test, and your experiences will then elevate to another level, and you find you progress spiritually up through. You have to demonstrate spirituality in real life. It's no good saying, I've read all these books and I meditate, I'm really spiritual. Yeah, right. And so you have to demonstrate it. And throughout the collective consciousness in the dream reality, there are a lot of tests built in. There are programs that run. Like if you are astral projecting and you raise your chakra energy to a certain level and you get really a lot of activity going on, you can trigger different types of initiation experiences in that, because you've demonstrated by having a high energy OBE, you now trigger this initiation experience, which could be like the voice of God talking to you and like armoured knights standing around. I've got a ceremony that's been triggered by the energy of your projection. And lots of other things can trigger initiations and tests. And fear is a big one. You know, most people only ever remember their early OBEs because of the fear. And often your higher self will give you a moderately fearful experience just so that you will remember it, because the fear gives you a strong memory. And you wake up, oh, you remember what scared you. And you've remembered that experience. So and this happens quite a lot. And then you get things like the dweller on the threshold is one version of it. When this is when you start consciously projecting. Most people who have regularly project more than 10 times will encounter this eventually. And you project out of your body, and just like you've done before, and then there's a man-sized black figure with burning red eyes standing on the other side of the room, and it's sort of breathing heavily and growling a bit. It's going threateningly. And if you don't know what that is, it's scary as hell. It's like you've got this black wetsuit-like thing with burning red eyes. Oh no, it's a demon, you know. And but it's not. You can get this a dozen times and try all kinds of things, and it never attacks you. All it ever does is go boom. That's all it does. It will go boom until you understand and you get the message. The penny drops, and then you turn around and you face it. Even though you might still be feeling a bit scared inside,
right.
True courage is the ability to function while you're scared. Walk up to it and tell it to go away. You don't frighten me, go away. And turn your back on it, go about your business. You won't find it there when you get back, and you probably won't see it again. Another version of that is to get out of body, and you'll see several chimpanzee-like beings with sort of munted faces, caricature faces, and they're sitting around you, these like ugly little monkey things, that quite big, chimpanzee-like, and they sort of leer at you and go, and they clutch at you and pull on your clothing, on your hands, or when you're projecting, you find they'll pull on your legs, they pull on your feet and that. You think, oh, my guide's trying to pull me out of body. That's not. These are tests as well. You remember that. And if it hadn't been for the pulling on the feet bit, you probably wouldn't remember that partial astral projection. And you get out and these monkeys are around. You're going to do the same thing. All I do is leer, go, boom. That's all I do. They never attack. I've tested this to the nth degree. And just tell them to go away and fly off, and they'll leave you alone. They'll disappear. You pass that test. It goes away. Another test.
The whole point of that kind of test, the overcome your fear?
Yes. And these tests never end. When you go through, these are early tests. When you go through on, you have developed a bit, you know, your astral being, your astral abilities develop to a more mature level, and then you get other tests appear. Tests of temptation, tests of courage, tests of intelligence. And the tests never end. They never end. Your entire life, there'll always be something new.
So is this your higher self testing you as you are now?
Yeah, well, one aspect, yes. But these programs, you could say, it's all from your higher self, the great I am within, which is a part of you. It's in every cell of your body and around you. It's never anywhere else. It's inside of you. Most people mistake the machinations of your higher self as their spirit guide. Some people have a spirit guide, an independent spirit they work with that may help them. A lot of helpful spirits around. But most people that don't have that contact, they're actually being guided by their higher self. And yeah, you could say your higher self does this because it's always with you, the great observer within you, and it tests you as part of your training. It's like this is your father and your mother combined, and you're the baby, and it is trying to teach you the ABC and this and that, and by demonstrating it, it won't usually speak to you. My higher self's only ever spoke to me once, and it spoke to me for about an hour. And it gave me some valuable instruction to help me proceed. From what I've heard, with most people, it only ever speaks to them once. That's if you're heavily into spiritual development. You'll get the one-off session with it. And what it taught me then, keep in mind, it's part of me, it's in control of these memories. It spoke to me for like an hour. In the beginning, I remember the first 5 minutes of that instruction, which is always like instruction. And at the time, I was banging my head against the wall trying to step further into the greater reality and make sense out of all of this. And at the time, I had typical New Age person type beliefs. You know, believed I had a spirit guide and stuff like that, and how it is in the books you read. And when you push the greater reality, you find none of that works. You know, a few bits and pieces do, but most of it doesn't, because the reality is not like that. So I was very confused and not getting anywhere, and I couldn't work it out. And this is 20 odd years ago, 23 years ago. And then I think, yeah. And one night I was going to meditate. My wife and children always went to bed by about 8:30. And I walked into the family room with a nice little fire on and some candlelight. And I used to meditate for 2 to 4 hours a night. That's one of my favourite things to do. And as I was reaching for the light switch before I went to sit down, this voice spoke to me, a loud, deep, eloquent male voice, and it said, "Robert, it's about time we had a long talk." Yeah. Now, it started talking to me, it said, "Go and sit down." So I turned the light off, but now I'm always experimenting. And my carotid gland, the one that swells up when you get sick under here, was vibrating and modulating with the voice. And the mastoid bone, that curved bone behind your ear, was vibrating with the voice. And I put my fingernail into it, and I could feel the bone vibrating, modulating with the voice. It's like the bone phone. You can get a telephone made by Sony, a cell phone, which you actually push. You don't put it to your ear, you push it in your forehead, and you hear the cell phone through the bones that go through the ear. It was something like that. If I had the right microphone, I could have recorded it. It was a real physical voice.
Wow.
And I've had that many times since then, and with other people as well, I've observed this. And it basically explained to me what I had to do to go any further in the greater reality, the greater spiritual reality. I had to dismantle my beliefs. And it told me to write down a list of all the things that I believed in. And there were several pages of stuff, what I believed in. And it said, now write down on the other page the things that you've actually experienced more than once.
Right.
And so I wrote down, there was about probably 7 or 8 things there. Astral projection's real, because I've done a lot of it. Healing is real. I've done a lot of healing. I've experienced healing. Energy's real. Angels are real, because I've encountered them a few times. Demons are real. I've encountered those buggers too. And other things like that, but there wasn't much there. And I went into something like spiritual shock, because I'd learned by this time here, when an angel or a master advises you of something, you better damn well do it. Even though it's saying, it's your choice.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're really saying is, you can do this and you'll save yourself a lot of pain. A lot of pain you'll avoid by doing this. That's what they're not telling you. Because if you go against that, you're going to experience a lot of pain and hardship in life, because the alternative to that is pain, which is your default setting. The default way to learn and spiritually evolve is through pain and suffering in our life. It drives you within, eventually drives you within. Now I've remembered about probably 15, 20 minutes of that conversation. Every couple of years I remember a little bit more of it. It's like it's timed. It gives me another piece of the pie when I deserve it. And as I grow and mature and learn and write, more and more of that becoming. I wrote an article on this, which is also available on my website, called The Catch Basket Concept. I'll explain it in much more detail. That was either my higher self or an angel talking. I think it was my higher self advising me how to proceed. And once I did that, I went into like spiritual shock, because I had to dump all my beliefs, like dumping all your religious beliefs in one hit, including Christianity, everything you've ever heard and learned. Still programming. The only thing that's real is personal experience, and that's so logical. And every true master in every holy book in the world gives you this same advice. You'll find it in all the books. You'll find it in the Bible. You'll find it in the Bhagavad Gita, parables, and that, all telling you the same thing. And I was told to proceed from then on. But what the effect of this, I was told later when I did this, your core beliefs, your foundation beliefs inside of you, they form your perceptual filters inside of your mind. So if you're trying to download truth and inspiration and creativity through your mind, you're trying to download this.
Right.
It has to pass through your perceptual filters. Now, if the truth is spherical, like a ball, and if your belief system is triangular, if you try and force the truth through there, the truth is either destroyed or severely damaged.
Right.
You download it.
That makes sense.
And this is so logical. And it works, because since I started doing this, the more I've done this over the years, the more open my you say, belief systems are for the downloads. And if I have a problem or an issue or need to know or do something like that, it's truly said that all knowledge exists within all of us, each of us. In every person, infinite knowledge exists. But downloading it, you've got to get yourself out of the way, your beliefs out of the way, and you've got to purify them to the best of your ability based on personal experience. That's the only way to do it. And then you'll start getting more snippets of truth and genuine advice at work, and that through you. Artists do this, musicians do this as well, with art, music, but when it comes down to something like the greater reality, that's a much bigger thing to download bits of. You're downloading information. And so you've got, in a way, I suppose, it's like, syncing your computer with another one like we're doing now. It's like, if our belief systems are wonky, we had the OBE connection beforehand that just wasn't working. It's unworkable.
Right.
That's you've got a lot of beliefs that you don't have personal experience with. If you look at if you look at spirituality and ancient books and contemporary ones as well, you start to get this. You start to get this process of your higher self being a part of you. You are a collective. You are a collective of aspects, and one of the aspects that holds all this collective together is your higher self. That holds it all together, and
makes sense.
And then your higher self has all knowledge. This is a part of you. It's not separate from you. It's integrated. You share the same brain. You share the same mind. You share the same physical body. It's there with every thought you have, and everything you feel and experience. It's there with you, sharing it with you. It's the silent observer. It sits back and doesn't speak and just observes. And occasionally, it will take action. Sometimes to save your sorry ass from a stupid mistake. The universe will use everything it can around you. And whatever questions you have, you're actually being answered continually through life, through signs and synchronicities and omens around you, the metaphors around you. We're being answered all the time. But we don't listen, we can't hear that. It's like cats give up trying to communicate with humans, by the time they're in teenagehood. They give up because they think humans are like dumb. You can't use simple telepathy. It's like, so they give up and just, I'm a cat, okay, feed me, But there's a lot more to cats and dogs than that meets the eye if you communicate with them.
Yeah. Well, Robert, I hate to interrupt you, but we actually are running close there. Actually, we were able to run over tonight. We were given the graces to go over, but we're up to our extended time limit. So I hate to interrupt you, but it looks like we're going to hopefully have you on again so we can continue to ask questions on you and everything you know on the astral realm. Personally, I'd like to have you back on the show and ask you questions on the other beings that you've seen. You mentioned that you've seen demons. I'd like to ask you questions about that the next time we have you on, if I can.
Yeah, sure. I'm off this year working from home, so anytime you got a slot, just give me an email and we'll set it up. This time's good for me too, so midweek is good.
Perfect. Perfect.
Good. That'll be awesome because you had just started to get into the other stuff that we love to talk about, the I am that I am, and all the oneness and stuff, and like to do a show based more on that. But thank you again for taking your morning out to spend with us, and we certainly appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love doing radio. I go into a zone. I can actually talk for 7 days straight without repeating myself.
That's better than me.
I used to do a 7-day workshop in Montana, a residential one at the Feather Pipe Ranch, and it's a 7-day workshop, all day till 9 o'clock at night, talking.
I don't know if I could go 7 days, but I could probably get 3 without. To remind
I could probably go through.
You're Astral.
But if you want to find
.com, correct?
Go to astralbob.com, and I think we've still got the free first edition Astral Dynamics. That's like 600 pages. My community site and forums with all the free content, articles, tutorials, and that there is astraldynamics.com.au.
Okay.
And I've put that that out for everybody to find you. And I believe you're also on Facebook.
Yep, they've got a Facebook page.
Of course. Who doesn't have a Facebook page anymore?
You'll find the link to that on my websites too.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, and we'll make sure that on your Facebook page that you have a link to this show once it gets uploaded and recorded, so you can share it, share the archive, and again, we thank you for taking your time with us.
Right. Nice seeing you.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank
You have a good one.
for listening. We'll see you next week. Same bat. No, actually, we won't see you next week because we're off for Thanksgiving week, so we'll go to the Tuesday after that. We'll see you soon. Good night, everybody.
Night, everyone.